Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video, where today I'm reviewing the Wrecka Krew Kill Team. But before we get into things, thanks goes to Games Workshop for providing this to review for free. And as always, I aim to be honest, impartial and constructively critical. And please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. What do you think of the new Ork Kill Team? And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, an affiliate link at Element Games, and a discount code and affiliate link at Crossfire Games, as well as a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But let's get on with today's video. So starting off with the Wrecka Krew Kill Team, they have the archetypes of security and seek and destroy, which is okay. It's not too bad, not great, but not horrible. Then you've got your Wrecka Krew boss knob, who can either have dual rocket pistols with a chopper or a rocket pistol and smash hammer. Then you get 2 bomb squigs, and then you get 5 other operatives, which contain the Breaker Boy Demolisher, Fighter, Crusher, Tankbuster Gunner with either every rocket launcher or rocket launchers, and then the Tankbuster Rocketeer with either the Pulsar rocket or the rocket launcher. And then other than the Bomb Squig, Breaker Boy Fighter, and Tankbuster Gunner, your kill team can only include each operative once. So you've got some freedom there with what you can run more than one of. For faction rules, you have Wrecka Rampage. So whenever a friendly operative is shooting, fighting, or retaliating in the roll attack dice step, for each dice result of a 6 you retain, you gain 1 Wrecka point. You can spend up to 3 of your Wrecka points unless it's a bomb squig. For each point you spend this way, retain 1 of your fails as a normal success instead of discarding it. You cannot have more than 6 Wrecka points at once, and if you start an activation with 6 Wrecka points, you cannot get any more during the activation. So this is kind of interesting. Firstly, it doesn't require you rolling crits, it just requires you rolling 6s, which works with interactions such as with the Psychomancer's ability to turn off crits. And interestingly, you can only have a maximum of 6, so once you've hit 6, before you start shooting, you should just immediately use them, and you can only use a max of 3 for every attack action. So even if you have 6, you can't use all 6. But the good thing is you can generate them for melee and shooting, which is nice, and it is an interesting mechanic. You also have the tanked up rule, so whenever a friendly operative excluding the bomb squig has an engage order and performs the fight or shoot action excluding guard, you add 1 to its APL stat to the start of its next activation. So technically you have ways to get +1 APL, although it is quite limited in your ability to do fight or shoot actions. So if your opponent is playing quite cagey and not giving you any targets to either charge or shoot, you're actually going to be capped at effectively 2 APL, which is kind of rough, but fits how this team plays. First strategy ploys, you have War. Friendly Wrecka operatives have melee weapons have the balanced weapon rule, so this is the same as commandos. Then you've got Tough Gits. Whenever an operative is shooting a friendly Wrecka Krew operative that has an engage order, you can reroll 1 of your defense dice. That's pretty nice. Then you've got Destruction. Friendly operatives' range weapons have the saturated weapon rule. This is interesting, but you're probably not going to spend any CP on Destruction. Then you've got Amped Up, which is crazy. So each friendly operative that has an engage order can immediately regain D3 plus 1 lost wounds, roll separately for each. So you go like, oh, that was a tough turning point too, but my operatives are all engaged, or it's all your operatives on engage in the strategy phase immediately heal D3 plus 1, which is crazy. Just so useful and really good. For Firefight ploys, you have just a scratch, so you ignore dice from a normal damage except for the bomb squig, which is the same as in commandos. Then you got Demolition Job. Use this firefight ploy after a friendly operative performs a fight or shoot action just before incapacitated operatives are removed, if any. Place 1 of your demolition markers within the target's control range. If using a blast weapon, the primary target. When a friendly Wrecka Krew operative excluding the bomb squig is shooting against, fighting against, or retaliating against an operative that's within 3 inches of that marker, you can spend a Wrecka point for free, even if you have none. In the ready step of the next strategy phase, remove that marker. So you have a situational way to dump and gain passive Wrecka points, which is nice. I kind of wish it just stayed there, because going away at the end of the strategy phase for CP is pretty tough. It's still very useful, but you're probably using this on your first fight or shoot action. Then you've got Proper Scrap. Use this firefight ploy during a friendly Breaker Boy or Boss Node operative's activation. During the activation, the operative can perform 2 fight actions. So, you charge, fight, you go to 3 APL, then you spend a CP to fight twice, which is nice. Then you've got Kaboom. Use this firefight ploy when a friendly operative performs a shoot action and a weapon with the blast weapon roll is selected. Until the end of that action, add 1 inch to the weapon's blast and it has the severe weapon roll when shooting the primary target. You cannot use this ploy and the drill rockets roll for the equipment during the same action. Note that severe doesn't generate Wrecka points as it's not a 6. So Kaboom is a nice way to get bigger blasts, as you'll see with the upcoming operatives, and it's an interesting ploy. I think you're always spending a CP usually on just a scratch, and then you probably really want demolition job and maybe proper scrap, so you're probably going to be burning a lot of CP with your firefight ploys. Kaboom is very like, if your opponent's bunched up, you can suddenly just kaboom a lot, so it's tough. You have a lot of CP to spend and not much to generate with. For operatives, you have the Wrecka Boss Knob, who is 2 APL, 6 inch move, 4 up save and 14 wounds, which is the same as the Commando Knob. He's got a rocket pistol, which is 6 attacks, hitting on 5s, 4-5, range 8, blast 1. But then if you have the tool rocket pistols, it has focused, which is 6 attacks, hitting on 4s, 4-5, range 8, blast 1, ceaseless. And then you have the salvo mode, which is 6 attacks, hitting on 5s, 4-5, range 8, blast 1, salvo. And salvo is select up to 2 valid targets. Shoot with this weapon against both primary targets in any order of your choice, then against all remaining secondary targets in the same manner, roll separately for each. Each target, primary and secondary, cannot be shot more than once during the action. So this kind of semi-confirms other operatives with the same salvo pistol can't pick the same target, but I think 2 rocket pistols are better than 1. Not just in general, but as a loadout. Then you've got the chopper, which is 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, 4-5, and then the smash hammer, which is 4 attacks, hitting on 3s, 5-6, brutal. You also have Wrecka Boss, so whenever this operative performs a fight or shoot action excluding guard, you gain 1 Wrecka point. So this is another way you can just passively generate Wrecka points. So what you may do with your boss knob is usually charge, fight, gain a Wrecka point, and then maybe more Wrecka points if you roll any 6s, then shoot after with your 3rd APL to get more Wrecka points. Personally, I'm a big fan of 2 rocket pistols and the chopper. The smash hammer being 5-6 brutal is nice, but you get way more value with the rocket pistol. And from what I've tested out, I think the ceaseless mode is way better and way more reliable for you to actually proc more crits. Because the salvo mode, I would only really fire if I already went into that attack with 3 Wrecka points. And another nice thing with Wrecka points is you can use them immediately after you've generated them. So let's say I shoot someone with the Wrecka Boss Knob. I get 1 Wrecka point automatically, and then I roll 2 crits. Well, I roll 2 6s, so that gives me 3 Wrecka points. I then can immediately spend those 3 Wrecka points to change those into like 6 hits. So it's very, very good. Like the ceaseless pistol, so good, and that's why Wrecka points are quite flexible. Then you've got your bomb squig, which is 2 APL, 6 inch move, 5 up save and 5 wounds. You've got explosives, which is 6 attacks, hitting on 4s, 4-5, blast 1, limited 1 explosive, and then a bite, which is 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, 4-5. It's explosive, so this operative can perform the shoot action while within control range of enemy operatives. Do not select a valid target. Instead, this operative always a priority target and cannot be in cover or obscured. It's got stupid, so during the firefight phase, when you determine operative's order, you cannot select conceal, and this operative cannot perform any actions other than charge, dash, fight, reposition, and shoot, or use any weapons that are on in its data card. So you can start on concealed in deployment, but then when you activate, you switch to engage. You've got boom, so whenever this operative is incapacitated in a battle in which it hasn't used explosives, roll 1d6 or 2d6 if you wish. If any result is a 4+, this operative performs a free shoot action with explosives before it's removed from the kill zone. And then you've got expendable. It's ignored for the kill op and elimination, and it's ignored for victory in conditions that require operatives to escape, survive, or be incapacitated. So you've got 2 very, very like throwaway operatives. The interesting thing is, they don't have GA2. I was like, I've made an interesting meme around it if they were GA2, but they're not, which is, thank goodness for everyone else. It does mean your your kill team is a 6 operative kill team for the kill op, which is actually kind of tough. But you do have 2 expendable operatives that will run in and blow up, although oddly they may be able to survive their own boom. Then you've got your Breaker Boy Demolisher, who has 2 APL, a 6 inch move, 4 up save and 12 wounds. This is the standard profile for your kill team, so they don't have 10 wounds, everyone has 12. You've got the Tank Hammer Bash, which is 4 attacks in on 3s, 4-5, and then you've got the Tank Hammer Detonate, which is a different profile, 4 attacks in on 3s, lethal 5 up, limited 1, detonate. So you've got Reckless Temperament. Normal damage of 4 or more inflicts 1 less damage on this operative. If this operative is in engage order, critical damage of 4 or more also inflicts 1 less damage on this operative. So you've got a really nice trade-off. If someone alphas you and they only roll normals, they do 1 less damage, but if you're running in there, they're always doing 1 less damage because you have an engager, so that's nice. Then you've got Detonate. The first time this operative would inflict damage on any operative with this weapon profile during the battle, separately inflict d6 plus 6 damage on the operative and each other operative within that enemy's operative's control range if it's a normal success, or 2d6 plus 6 damage if it's a critical success. Then the action ends and you gain 1 Wrecka point for each operative that was incapacitated during that action. So I know a lot of people are like, I'm going to run and detonate, but you don't. What's really interesting, so especially into elites, so you go to free APL when you charge, you spend a CP to fight twice, so you fight, you charge and fight, do a like 8 damage to them, then you strike again and blow up. So remember, if you don't roll any crits, you're doing 2d6 plus 2, or you're doing d6 plus 2d6 plus 6 or d6 plus 6, which is crazy. And interestingly, if a marine, like if someone charges you, then you just use the detonate mode. Like it does suck if you only get 1 hit because then they'll just block that out. But they charge you, you get 2 hits, 1 could be a crit. You just go like, did you charge me, bro? And just like blow them up. It's very, very good. It's good you can only take 1 of these for the opponent, but they are very, very interesting. And I know there's a lot of players who are going to be like, well, I always boom. I run in and boom. That's, if I survive, I'll try and hit them normally because you can only detonate once. But it's very interesting mind games. Like melee operatives are not probably going to charge him because if they charge you, they will likely take 2d6 plus 6 damage. So really fun, this operative. Then you've got the Breaker Boy Fighter, who has the Smash Hammer, which is 4 attacks, 8 on freeze, 5/6 brutal. For 1 action point, it can break stuff. So select a terrain feature within this operative's control range. If it's equipment terrain, remove it. Otherwise, place 1 of your breach markers within this operative's control range as close as possible to that terrain. Whenever an operative is within 1 inch of its marker, it treats that part of the terrain feature no more than 1 inch thick as accessible terrain, and you cannot perform this while in control range of an enemy operative, or if a terrain feature isn't within its control range. So this is kind of like a better and worse Breacher Boy. Annoyingly, you can't do this for free during a move or charge, like you just wreck it. I guess they were worried of like a free APL guy just running through for free, smashing people twice. I do wish you got a Wrecka point for doing this. It does feel like when you do break stuff, you should get a Wrecka point for either smashing through a building or destroying someone's terrain equipment. Like the great thing I like doing with the Breaker Boy Fighter, very good on Gallo Dark. You just go like, is that your banner in the middle of the room? I mean, your barricade, well, it's gone now. Or destroying ladders. Seeing the look on your opponent's face when you destroy their ladders is so satisfying. You could also destroy mines, but they would blow up before you destroy them. But you can do so much stuff with break stuff. They're very, very interesting. Then you've got the Breaker Boy Crusher, who has Knuckle Busters, which are 4 attacks, 8 on freeze, 5/6 brutal, shock, and smash. So it's got smash. Whenever you strike, you can move the enemy operative in a straight line increments up to 1 inch. If you do, it must finish the move further away from this operative and in a location it can be placed. Then move this operative in a straight line in increments up to 1 inch, but it must end that move within the enemy operative's control range. If either isn't possible, you cannot move them. So this is okay. I would have liked maybe 2 inches, or just like at the end of the combat, you push them 3 inches to kind of like mirror the dozer. Because in general, if someone is surviving your fights, they take 10 damage and you push them 2 inches. It's interesting, but I think generally people are going to die before, like only Marines won't die to this, but it's nice. It's just not that useful. Then you've got Armored Up. Whenever an enemy operative is shooting this operative, or this operative is fighting or retaliating, your opponent cannot retain attack dice of 6 or less as critical successes, e.g. as a result of the lethal, rending, or severe weapon rule. So not only does this apply in melee, it applies in shooting. So your opponent can only affect this guy with actual natural crits, so they have to roll 6s. This is what makes the Crusher really, really good. It messes up a lot of teams, which is really nice. Then you've got the Tankbuster Gunner. He has the Every Rocket Launcher or Rocket Launcher. The Every Rocket Launcher is 6 attacks, 8 on 4s, 4/5 blast, 1 heavy dash only. Then you've got the Rocket Launcher, which is 6 attacks, 8 on 5s, 4/5 blast, 1. Then you've got Fist, which are 3 attacks, 8 on 3s, 3/4. Then you've got Competitive Streak, once per shoot action. If this operative shoots an enemy operative that another friendly operative has already shot during this turning point, you gain 1 Wrecka point. Determine this when you select a valid target, but you can include any secondary targets when doing so, easy from blast. Personally, I do like the Every Rocket Launcher. It is more restrictive in use, but hitting on 4s is so much better than hitting on 5s. It does take more finesse to use, but I just prefer hitting on 4s over 5s. Then you've got the Tankbuster Rocketeer. So it can either have the pulsar rocket or the rocket launcher. Well, has the rocket launcher, which is 6 attacks, hit on 5s, 4/5 blast 1, and then either has the pulsar rocket or rocket rack. So the rocket rack is 6 attacks, hit on 5s, 4/5 blast 2, heavy reposition only, limited 1, relentless, and the pulsar rocket is 6 attacks, hitting on 5s, heavy reposition only, limited 1, pulsar. So pulsar is you don't select a valid target, instead place one of your pulsar markers visible to this operative or on vantage terrain of a terrain feature visible to this operative. That marker gains 1 pulsar point, then roll attack dice. It gains 1 additional pulsar point for each success to a maximum of 3 additional points. Separately inflicts D3 damage on each operative wholly within X inches of that marker, where X is that marker's pulsar points. Then the action ends. Then it has the Shockwave ability. So whenever an operative is within X inches of your pulsar marker, see left, worsen the hit stat of its weapons by 1 and subtract 2 from its move stat. This is cumulative with being injured. X is the marker's pulsar points. In the ready step of each strategy phase, you subtract 1 from your pulsar marker's points. If ever has 0 points, remove it. So what you can do with the pulsar rocket is, effectively, if you have 3 Wrecka points in the bank when you shoot, you fire, you will get 1 automatic pulsar point, then you spend 3 Wrecka points to give you 3 more hits, which will then force into 4 Wrecka points. So you have an 8-inch bubble effectively of doing D3 damage, and then everyone hit by that is -1 to hit, -2 to their movement, and cumulative with being injured. So while it isn't really too good early game, it's quite amazing late game, because it's effectively a 20 mil spark marker within 4-inch radius bubble of D3 damage, and then making someone -1 to hit. Now, I actually think it's pretty good into hordes, obviously, because, you know, either doing 1 to D3 and just neutering their ability to hit is great, but it has play into elites as well, and it doesn't care about like being behind walls. You just have to be within X of that pulsar rocket, and I like saving it for turning point 2 or 3, because that's when it can cause the most effect. The rocket rack you'd probably take into like elite kill teams, really, because the problem into hordes, while the blast 2 is nice, most horde players won't be won't be bunching up for you. And this into an elite, especially into Gallowdark with the lethal 5 up, I believe if you have like 3 Wrecka points, they just die, like they just explode, which is really, really good. And the relentless just helps you farm, you know, more elite points, which is really, well, not elite points, Wrecka points. And then after, yeah, it's just really useful. So generally, I would probably use the pulsar rocket into non-elites and rocket racks into elites. And then also you have a normal rocket launcher. This operative really does suffer from not being able to double shoot. But just imagine, like, especially if you're running the rocket launcher and rocket rack, you're just 1 turn, instead of firing your rocket launcher, you're firing a blast 2 relentless rocket launcher. So it kind of makes up, but still a very good operative overall. For faction equipment, you have drill rocket. So once per turning point, whenever a friendly operative is performing the shoot action and you select a rocket launcher or every rocket launcher, you can use this rule. If you do, until the end of the action, that weapon loses the blast weapon rule, but has the piercing 1 weapon rule. So remember, if you can just force crits, when you have a piercing 1 6 attack rocket, that is actually just going to kill most things. Not really good into the meta teams at the moment that ignore piercing, but really good into everything else. Then you've got extra armor, so you subtract 1 from the move stat of friendly operatives to add 1 to their wound stat. This excludes bomb squigs. I'm not a fan of extra armor. I think it's very situational. Maybe I would take it into shooting opponents that are going to outmaneuver me, but I wouldn't take it into every opponent, because you still want to be move 6, but it's still really good. But I like this offset. You get +1 wounds at the cost of movement, which is really good. Then you've got engine oil. Once per turning point, when a friendly operative excluding bomb squig is activated, you can use this rule. If you do so until the end of that activation, you can ignore any changes to the operative stats from being injured, including its weapon stats. You just drink oil and you feel a lot better. So you always take this. Then you've got glyphs. When this equipment item is selected, also select the War or Destruction strategy ploy. The first time you would use that ploy during the battle, it costs 0 CP. Whenever you would use it thereafter, it costs 0 CP if you have any Wrecka points. You always use War for this, and effectively War is always free for you, which is nice. That's really good. So you're always taking glyphs, always taking engine oil, generally always taking drill rockets, and then you might take extra armor. So your faction equipment is really, really good but I don't think you're rarely taking all 4 of them at once. Then you've got the designer's commentary, which is nice for all the new teams, where they kind of explain how you should play them and what you want to do with them, like what's the main goal, which is nice. And then when it comes to kill team composition and collecting the Wrecka Krew, unfortunately this is a 2-box kill team. So you can get away with 1 box, and if you're going with 1 box, I would build the Wrecka Krew Nob with 2 rocket pistols, then the Demolisher, the Fighter, the Crusher, Gunner, then like I built it with the every rocket launcher, but you can build it with whatever, and then the Tankbuster Rocketeer with the pulsar rockets. So the only reason you need a 2nd box is to build the Nob with the tank hammer and a single rocket pistol, and then some more Rocket Boy gunners and some fighters, just to give you some more options. It's really annoying that you basically need 2 boxes for this kill team to have all the options, because there are some matchups where you want to go like fighter heavy, and then there are other matchups where you can just go, actually I'm just going to shoot you off the board. Generally you can get away with being a 1-box team, as I said, with that first option, but generally you want 2 boxes, and I would personally most of the time run the 2 rocket pistol chopper, obviously the 2 bomb squigs, then the Demolisher, Fighter, Crusher, Gunner with every rocket launcher, and then Tankbuster Rocketeer. That's a general nice all-rounder, but as I said, when you get more competitive, there are situations where you want to run more Rocketeers, like Gunners, and then just more Fighters. Really depends. So it's not 100% 2 boxes, but ideally you need 2 boxes. So for the Wrecka Krew kill team overview, I think they're actually a really fun team. I thought they were a bit crazy at first. Otherwise, I think they're pretty solid. They're very difficult to play into like very conservative opponents, because most of the time it will limit you to being a 2 APL team, and you haven't got the best tac ops. Like security is nice, but people can play around it, and your team doesn't do the best at Seek and Destroy. Like you can play Seek and Destroy, but your tac op game is quite weak and you do have flaws. But I do think they're really fun, and especially when you're rolling those crits, like those 6s, you're going to blow people away. And like the great strength is being able to use Wrecka points immediately when you generate them. So every time you shoot, you should be generating at least 1 Wrecka point, and then you can either stock them or use them again, like immediately. Like your boss Nob is really good at generating Wrecka points, although the team does have weaknesses. Can't double shoot, and you don't have Daka, oddly. Like they really should have had Daka over War, but I understand why they didn't give them Daka, because then they would be really oppressive. So oddly, I think Commandos have a better shooting game than them, which is very strange. Like, it's weird, very weird, but they're a very orky team. I would like them getting Wrecka points for also killing operatives with 12 or more wounds to represent them going after big guys, like either other Wrecka boys or Space Marines. I think there's more ways they could have added Wrecka points, like with the Crusher, generating Wrecka points every time he does his crush action. That would have been nice. Just some passive way to generate stuff. But overall, they're a really good fun kill team. They're a lot of fun to paint. The models are great. I'm painting mine up as Bad Moons because Bad Moons are the best. But they're interesting. And honestly, while they are real flavorful, they are a little bit more overtuned than I would have liked, but not in a bad way. I think it's just fine considering where the game is at the moment. But I can see a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of reposition rocket pistol in the face. It's a shame you can't fire twice to go reposition rocket pistol with your leader, but your leader go in charge, fight, ceaseless rocket pistol. Really, really nice. So they've got a lot of neat tricks and a lot of stuff that people won't expect. They're more honest, but they're really fun. It's a shame they actually can't use that 3rd APL too much outside of fighting twice. But I think that's there for balance reasons, which is good. But that's pretty much it from me today. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of the Wrecka Krew. Are you a fan of them? Are you not? Are you going to get them? And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out in the episode description below for free, an affiliate link at Element Games, and an affiliate link and discount code at Crossfire Games. And I've just got a Patreon as well, and I'll just shout out my patrons. So for my adepts of the crit, I have Zombie Businessman, Tom, Super Cow, Steven, Sam, Nick, Mercenary Q, Mr. Meatwood, Lucas, John Thomas, Graham, Jeremiah, Fangzu, Draken, Dave Meets World, Darcy, Dad of Goldens, Chris, and then for my veterans of the crit, I have Sandra and Mark. So thank you all for your support. It really helps support the channel, and I appreciate it so much. But yeah, I think Wrecka Krew are really fun. Do I want to play them? Oh, I don't know. I like how they are balanced. I think their tack-up game is quite weak, but they have a lot of raw offensive power and they can kind of push through quite a lot. They're a very interesting team that I actually think requires a bit more finesse, but I think they will kind of struggle into some elites. Like Phobos will oddly dismantle this team, as well as like Legionnaire and Warp Coven. But also, I think they don't do too great into hordes. Like, even though, you know, melter guns and piercing guns will like shred through this team, which is interesting. Like, you've still got just a scratch, and maybe in those matchups you go up to 13 wounds, but I'm really tempted to play them. I want to see how they do. I think you're probably going to always take 2 smokes just to try and keep like either your Operative safe or the bomb squig safe, because you can just run them up, but you don't have ways to effectively punish your opponent shooting them, turning point 1, unless you out-activate them in terms of elites, or you can go on guard with Galadark. I think they're really fun. But remember, no matter how many Wrecka points you have, there's always a chance to win, as long as you can roll a crit.